Okay, today I'm going to be replacing my RV lock with a new RV lock. Mostly because I really loved this product for about 4 months, and after 4 months it stopped working and I had to do all kinds of things, and I'll show you in a second. I Frankensteined it to get it to work, to the point where I figured I would just start over because I know it so well. I think the problem I had is it's just not sitting in the space correctly. This is for C-Class RV, and the key thing to know when you're buying an RV lock in the beginning is to know the size of the hole that's in here, because most of them are smaller and shaped in the opposite direction, and you'll see in a second. So here we go. The other reason I'm recording this is I got the warranty on this one, and I figure if I record it from start to finish, we'll be able to find out where the problem is, and as I have problems I'll just add to the video and see how that goes. But like I've taken this thing on and off in the last 9 months. I'd say I've taken this thing on and off 25 times. Like I said, the first 4 months, nothing. It just worked great, and then after that, slowly it wasn't catching the latch, or it wasn't opening the door. You would pull the handle all the way and it wouldn't open the door, and I'll show you why I think that is here in a second. So first things first, let's go ahead and take this old guy off. I've also learned to do this all one-handed for the most part, so I don't think I'm gonna have an issue not having my wife in the second set of hands here, but that's man plans and God laughs. This last one is the short. And it's really helpful if you have a screwdriver with this that has a magnetic end, especially for this small one, because the number of times I've dropped it into loose gravel and then had to play hunt and peck either at dusk or at night is don't get me started. Okay, put those screws in the opposite pocket. So this is what's ended up with the backside or the insides, trying to get this to work correctly. So the main problem happens is that when this is locked, this swing has to come forward enough to push this enough to get it to unlock. And what was happening was it wasn't unlocking at a certain point, so I put a little bit of cardboard. Come on. I don't know if you can see this. Let me bring it on over. I added a little bit of cardboard on here just to give it a little more meat on one side so that it could push when it's trying to unlock the door. Again, that's just because of issues I was having with it not unlocking, or having the handle all the way open and it's still not reaching the point where it would lock off. So I just added a little bit of meat on the end of this. I glued these pieces of cardboard together and then I zip tied it to keep it on here. And that's that. That's what I had to do on the inside. So here's the replacement lock, the exact same lock. It feels foolish buying it again, but especially for the price, but I really did like it. We really did enjoy having the keyless aspect of it. Being able to get into your RV with the code rather than having to have keys all the time is a pain. Well, being able to get in with a code without having keys is really the best part of it. Having to have a key all the time or having to keep track of the key would be be rough. The other nice thing with the Class C's is this is not our only door. We still have the cab doors, so even when this was its most difficult and would essentially lock us out, I was able to unlock the front doors and get inside, and it would always open from the inside. And that's the part that really frosts me, is I never understood why the handle from the inside always works. The handle from the outside is the part that gives you a hard time. You would think it's the same mechanism on the inside, so you would think the distance it travels and everything else would all be identical. But it is what it is. And that's what this experiment is for. I'm buying a new one, going to install it from scratch. Over time, I'll record if I ever have any issues, and we'll go from there. It's fairly easy. There's a charging port here. I went ahead and charged it last night before I brought it down. But let's go ahead and get this started. I always set the outside first. You can see it from there. It just slides in, and then you just have to get the locking part to go through the hole. And what I was saying about the size of this is you can see now the square, the aperture I'm trying to get into. So there's really two types of locks, and most RVs or pull behinds or fifth wheels or whatever you want to call them have a much smaller lock than this. This is really like a Class A, and I'm assuming some or most Class C's, because my Class C has it, but that's there's only really one company that makes this that I was able to find, and that's what it is. There you go. So there's really not much to the positioning of this. Let me bring this over. When you're putting it in, you kind of have to snake this part in through here. There's a hole there, and then this goes into this little ring. So as you get that, come on. There you go. And what I'm looking at out here is you're just trying to get that little rectangular peg into the lock. The way it works is this little arm here. Stay. That arm slides into this little opening, and then it kicks over. Part of what I think was happening originally is that the arm was actually coming out of there and then not being on the inside, which led me to cutting this off. And then I thought it wasn't reaching it, so I took it and I tried to bend it out. I've got, like I said, I'm intimately familiar with this lock now because I've done so much to it. So I'm hoping you can learn from my experience and you won't have these same problems. So the next part is you go ahead and balance this together. This just pins in there. The biggest pain in the rear end of this whole project, or putting it back in, is that this locking device is just a circle with a flat on it, and you can see here it has a corresponding circle with a flat, but it spins freely. You know, it goes around and around. So you try and look at this and eyeball where this has to be while you're trying to line it up, and heaven forbid that thing moves just a little bit. The whole process just becomes a pain in the rear end. The other thing. Come back to it. While you're putting it on, sometimes this little arm doesn't line up real well with this opening. So what I've found is the best workaround is to make sure you have one of these expandable box knives on you, so that as you're putting it in with one hand, the other one you can kind of slip this in here and push this portion out a little bit to get it to align, to get that final push. And really all you're trying to do is get these 3 screw holes to line up. If you're putting your screw in and it feels like you've got some resistance, it's not lined up right. Don't try and to force it, because you're just going to mess up the threading and possibly ruin the lock. All right, so here we go. First parts first. Like I said, I got used to doing this with one hand, so I balance the corner in here and just plug this end in with my other hand. Welcome to RV Lock. The next step, like I said, is you need to pay attention to where this lock is. So right now the flat's in the bottom angle there. So you want to twist this so that it's more or less lined up. Now it's a process of trying to mate that lock. Look at that. So after so long, I can do this pretty much on the first go, which is, you'll find it's not that easy. So this will lock in and out. The problem is that while this is lined up, this isn't necessarily all set up now. So the next process is to start looking inside of each one of these holes to see if it's aligned. And now is the time when I work this out a little bit, just to make sure that arm on the inside found the hole of the door lock. And the way I do that is I'll usually tighten up one screw, and then I'll close this manually and see if the door opens. So I'm just gonna, precaution is a better part of valor. And of course, now all I had to do was talk about it, and then it goes wrong. So as I was doing this down at the bottom, this part came out. This part has to go in first. If you don't get this part in first, it's just not going to work for you. The outside portion will stay on fairly well. Now I'm going to hold it in place. Hunt for your smallest screw. And I don't, so apparently having done that one so much, it's just become easier. I don't know what's going wrong. This is usually the easy parts. So all you're trying to do is line up with that hole, this hole, and then another one down here. Here in the middle. It's attached. It appears to be aligned. If you ever try and make a video, you'll find out this is how it happens. Usually this is not the hardest part of it, but apparently while I'm making this video. Okay, take two. I just had to take that phone call. So the problem I'm having, and I may have forgotten about this, is that, let me bring this in, flip this around a little bit. So the problem that's happening is when this is trying to mate, this post has to go into this hole. And it's not wanting to align with that and the hole up here at the same time. And when you're trying to organize it in this direction to get it to work out, you're hindered because this point becomes a pivot point that you're locked into. So trying to move it around to get those two things to line up at the same time becomes difficult. All right, I'm gonna move you back. Let's see how long this takes me. I'm going to try and go ahead and get the pivot point attached first. Actually, no. I'm going to try and do this point first, as far as getting it screwed on there. And the reason is I can leave enough slack in that to get the blade of the X-Acto knife through, or the box knife through, to push this out if I need to align this with the hole on the other side. So here's the other thing. In order for this latch to line up while it's closed, this has to be pivoted. Essentially, it has to be pivoted all from the outside. It would be counterclockwise, but so this top portion is as high as possible to get that bottom piece to line up. Here we go again. So we're aligned all over the place, but I'm not seeing screw holes, so there we go, that's lined up now. Now you take one of these longer screws, there you go, get in there. Okay, so what I've found is that it is much easier to deal with this once you have one of these screws in. And you don't want to tighten it all the way because you still want to be able to have a little bit of play in case something needs to move around. If I have problems in the future, this is just a note for myself. I think I'm going to try and shim the back end of this with cardboard or with wood or something to keep this angled in this direction so that the control mechanism here lines up. And it's not lining up. So this is part of the frustration with this thing, is it seems very simple. And it's just not. And it seems stupid simple. That's trying to get this to work. Like, you must be thinking something wrong. I'm gonna try something else. And maybe this was a problem I had when I originally set it up, is I'm gonna put a longer one in there and just check the depth of that. So a couple of problems. It looks like the bottom corner here didn't align, and the latch isn't touching. But I'll tell you what, now that I have that top piece in there, I am not pulling it out for the life of me. So what I'm doing is I'm testing it. It's unlocked up here. I've several times locked this and been playing with it, getting frustrated. It's unlocked here. I've got it lined up, and I'm moving the outside handle to unlock. So that's all in place. And then it moves like that. And there it goes. That's what you do. And the biggest pain about this screw is that it doesn't move at all because of that pivot point on the inside. So trying to manhandle this around to get alignment just doesn't do anything for you. So all you can do is back it out and back it in, back it out, back it in until you get it. Okay, so all three screws have the alignment, the door mechanism working, fish. So what I'm going to do is slide this. You can see a small gap here, and before, like I was saying, I wanted this kicked forward enough to make sure that latch catches this each time. So I'm going to move it a little bit, tighten it up, and then test it out. I should take the top off first. Okay, locked, unlocked, and there it is. What this is telling me that I found is that this piece here is not coming back far enough. If it can't come back far enough this way, it won't hold the lock. So loosen it up a little bit. And when I first bought this, I would have had to take this whole thing apart to try and figure out what was going on. But now that I know what that problem is, see, and already it'll work. And it didn't move that far. So this is really a game of inches. And what will happen, you'll notice that this isn't locking into place because of that problem, because when you go to shut the door, it won't stay shut. It'll keep popping open. So if this keeps popping open, what you want to do is you want to take this part of the lock and move it back a little bit. Which is counter to what I thought I was going to have to do. All right, I'm gonna cut this off for a second so I can set my code. The last thing I wanna do is lock this and lock the door and not have my code set. And as you can imagine, I don't want it recorded. Okay, to set the code, all you have to do, well, not all, but you need something small like a safety pin or a paper clip. In my case, I've got my Allen wrenches, so I grab my smallest Allen wrench. There's a reset button here. You just hold it down until it tells you what to do. It tells you to enter your code and press lock. Then it tells you to enter the same code again and press lock, and then it's saved. So there we go. Let's go ahead and test this out. And this is where this thing becomes my nemesis. So we had just tested it. It had locked in place. I tightened it up. As soon as I tighten up, this isn't working again. So what I may end up doing is that piece of cardboard that I've got on the inside, in case this is messing it up somehow, I'm gonna go ahead and pull that off and then redo all this work. See, and there it goes. Now it works just fine. Let me tighten it up. Okay, I'll be back. I'm gonna go ahead and take this apart. I'm gonna take that cardboard piece out and we'll try this again, because again, I wanna try this from factory settings as much as possible. And the nice thing about this little hack is this little cardboard piece that I had made up, it just slides on and off. But once it's in there, it's only going back and forth, so it can't go anywhere. It's restrained, as it were. Oh, this is going to be so frustrating. It's really just 3 screws that align very easily. You would think this would just be a 5-minute job. So, while I'm open, so this is what I was saying about having it moved forward, or having it moved kind of clockwise from this direction, is that when it rests at the bottom here, this part gets buried over. So what you want to do is have it up like that, which is why I'm thinking that in the future I might put a shim on the back side there, just to make sure that back piece always stays kicked out. So the part of this that really makes this all such an enormous pain in the ass is just this little brass ring here, because while you're trying to align it, that's all the play you've got. And that position locks in your other three, or your other two screw positions. So, sorry, I'm just boiling in my frustration and my anger. So right now, the latch isn't coming back far enough to relock. So this results in your door just constantly banging open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this all up just a little bit. And I'm going to sneak that knife in there and try and so on the inside what happens is there's a little post, and I'm going to try and push it from this side just to make sure it's falling into this area. Bullshit. So I guess I'm not. All I did was I took it again and straightened it back out. And this may reinforce the fact that I need to take a shim and put it behind there to keep this all square. So what might be happening over time is as we're using it, this slowly settles back and then that stops working, but we'll see in a minute. I didn't know this would turn into an all-day affair. I thought this was going to be a 15-minute video at best. Lock, unlock. See, there we go. I'm just snugging all of these up. Lock, unlock, lock, unlock. All right, here we go. So before you do this next part, make sure you have your keys on you. This is the point I'll say, if you only have one door, don't be doing this by yourself. Make sure there's somebody inside so that they can operate the handle from the inside. For some reason, this lock, with all the trouble it gives you on the outside, the inside handle always works. It drives my brain insane. I don't know why this handle would always work and the outside one has such problems, but it is what it is. All right, here we go. The test. That's nice. So what will happen is if that wasn't catching, what was happening is this was leaned too far in this direction, clockwise, and the latch, the arm wouldn't come back far enough, the one that locks it and unlocks it, to let that latch. It's unlocked right now, so it opens, yay, closes, yay, locks, excellent. I'm going to go ahead and use the code. Unlocks. So now we have a new install that's working. Opens, very easy. One of the things I found is that when this is on properly, a small movement to get this open, and not very much. What happens over time is it ends up, the door handle has to be opened farther and farther, and you end up trying to yank it out at this position. Just take it off and try and reseat it and go from there. So we've got it installed. We'll see how long this stays good. Ha! There we go. So, and that's the problem that I've been having, is sometimes it will catch. Now that I want it to do it, it won't do it. But what was happening is this piece, which latches in here, was, how do you say it? It wasn't catchable. it will go up and then just fly back down. You won't hear that. Just like that. There it goes. Now it catches. There you hear it again. I'll say during this process, it's usually good to shut off your step. Keep that thing well greased up. I hit that with the RV Safe Lube probably at least twice a trip, usually when we're about to leave and then when we're coming back. But for now, that's it. We've got it on. It's working-ish. And we'll go from there. I'm going to actually take this video and send it to RVLock and see if they can't tell me how I'm doing something wrong. I don't know why that fails to come back. The other thing is I don't have any sort of they keep calling it an adjustment screw on the inside, and this doesn't have it. It has 2 screws that hold this in. I'm not sure what this guy does, but since I'm sending it to RVLock, I'll go ahead and so what'll happen is, and there it goes again, it's not catching. And there it catches. But sometimes, inexplicably, this will just stop. It won't, the arm on the inside, I guess, won't come back far enough to allow it to do that. Don't try and close your door while it's locked. That's dumb. There you go. And that's it.